So let's solve this algebraically. Since you can't like add or subtract anything to each side because you just have square roots, the first step is going to be squaring both sides. So when I square both sides here, I end up with 3 minus 4x equals x plus 18. It's kind of nice. The square roots just disappear. So to solve here, I want to get x's to one side, so I'm going to minus x to both sides. That would cancel, leaving you 3 minus 5x equals 18. My next step is to get the x by itself, so I got to get rid of this 3, so I'm going to minus 3 to both sides, leaving me negative 5x equals 15. Then I want to get the x by itself, so I divide by negative 5, and when I do that, I get x equals negative 3. So there's my answer. But I must check it just in case, because it could not work. It could be extraneous. So that's 3 minus 4 times negative 3. Stick that in there. Does that equal the square root of negative 3 plus 18? Let's see if those are equal. So right here we have 3. A negative times a negative is a positive 12. And on the right we have negative 3 plus 18, which is the square root of 15. So it looks like we're good because we got the square root of 15 equals the square root of 15. Check. Negative 3 looks like a solution. All right, on this next one, well, we can't square both sides because if I square this, it's going to be a big, huge mess. So what I can do is I can move this over to the other side. So watch this. What I'm going to do is I'm going to add the square root of x minus 6 to both sides. That would cancel that out, leaving me the square root of 2x minus 5 equals the square root of x minus 6. Now, it looks almost identical to this one. So, what we can now do is we can square both sides. So as we square both sides, we now have 2x minus 5 equals x minus 6. All right, now we solve. So let's minus this x over. That leaves us x minus 5 equals negative 6. Next, I want to get rid of that negative 5, so I'm going to add 5 to both sides. That cancels, leaving you x equals negative 1. So there's my answer of x equals negative 1. I got to check it, though. Always check, because there can be extraneous. But we check it in the original function. So I have 2 times negative 1, because that was my answer, minus 5, minus the square root of negative 1 minus 6 equals 0. Let's check this. Let's see. That gives you negative 2 minus 5. And that minus the square root of negative 7 equals 0. So this right here becomes the square root of negative 7 minus the square root of negative 7 equals 0. Now you might think that works. But the problem is these two are imaginary. And we're not dealing with imaginaries. So the moment you get an imaginary, it's a problem. Yes, imaginary minus imaginary does equal 0. But when you get imaginaries, we're not dealing with them, so this is not true, not possible. So guess what? This is not an answer, and there is no solution to this problem. There is no solution. You've got to be careful of that. You could also say that negative 1 is an extraneous solution, if you want to, because it doesn't work. You solved it right. It looks like it works, but it doesn't because you cannot have negatives inside causing imaginaries. So there is no solution to this equation.